Welcome to Heart and Mind Talks, a podcast for female entrepreneurs navigating life and business. I'm Vanessa Ortali, award-winning speaker and coach. Join me and expert guests as we uncover how to make success simpler, more fun, and feel truly aligned to you. Don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with someone who could use a little extra love and inspiration. Let's go. Hello, friend. First of all, I just want to thank you for being here. I am just so grateful to have you in this community, and I love being able to show up for you every week on my podcast and in my content. You're just the best, and thank you. Today, I am introducing you to Marley Jaxx. Marley is positively awesome. The first time I met her, she was training on how to become an icon in your industry. And I knew I needed to have her on the podcast to share all of this information. So in today's episode, she is going to share with you practical business tools on how to stand out in your industry through your message, through your brand. But she's also really great at being vulnerable and sharing her own story about love and cancer and her divorce. Hello, Marley. How are you?
So good. This is so fun to hang out with you again.
Before we pressed record, you were talking about how to really believe that success doesn't have to come from struggle. And that's something I really, really resonate with you on, is that we can create success in a completely different way, become wildly successful. You've created a multi-million-dollar business from you started on YouTube, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about your business and give people some tips on how to become more visible, become noticed, become an icon in their industry while also creating content from a place of joy and games, which will be fun. So tell us a little bit more about how you got to where you are, because you're also a fellow Canadian. So I love talking to other Canadians as well. But yeah, tell me more about your entrepreneurial journey.
Yes, I am Canadian, but I live in America now. When I was a kid, you know this, I printed out the American national anthem and I put it on the wall. And it was like my vision board before I knew what vision boards were, at like 10 years old. Because I always wanted to live in America because I wanted to be close to Hollywood. I love movies and I've always wanted to make movies. I made a documentary last year and I just thought like I have to be in America. And now I am. And what I do for business is I help people to grow their YouTube channels, their social media, which is kind of like I get to make movies for entrepreneurs on the internet where we have more creative control. So yeah, but I actually started in Canada as a dental hygienist, which I think is also part of, what you just mentioned about success requires struggle. I thought that you had to do the hard things first to be able to earn the ease. But I think that mindset just keeps the carrot dangling perpetually in front of you. So I went for a career in dental hygiene because I thought that that's what I was supposed to do. And once I, maybe make enough money there or something, then I can go after my dream. And it was like the first year in dental where I was like, I'm bored. How long do I have to do this for? Can I just start a business instead? And I like tiptoed into it by doing social media for the dental office. And then one thing led to another. They started referring me to other, the dentist referred me to his other friends that were business owners, and it grew from there to now having an agency and a consulting firm and courses where I help people all over the world.
It's so good. Can we talk a little bit more about the Canada US thing? Because I also am really drawn to the US. And in
Yeah.
Canada, I'm really curious as to your experience because I feel like Canadians are super sweet. But I feel like we also get a little bit scared and we're a little bit shy. I love in the US this American dream, and everybody loves going for their dream. And I
Mhm.
feel like Americans are a little bit more bold, and the entrepreneurial spirit in the US, as soon as I cross the border, I can feel it. I really feel that they support entrepreneurs. And maybe other people in Canada have had different experiences, but what has your experience been with the Canadian and American culture?
There's definitely for me a drastic before and after picture from when I lived in Canada to now living in the States. And I am in a community of entrepreneurs. I have a lot of people here in Boise, Idaho, of all places. That's where I am. And so I'm not in LA, I'm not in Hollywood, but closer. But there's a lot of entrepreneurs here. And I think that your environment will grow you more than willpower, more than just sheer force. And being around other people, it's like you almost just kind of assimilate or absorb that mindset, and seeing other people who are crushing it and succeeding and trying things and have that resilience, that when they fail, it's not a, oh my gosh, I made a big mistake and I'm ashamed, the way that, some of my upbringing felt like around, kids I went to school with, that it's like, oh, failure is actually just the prerequisite and you have to fail forward to be able to succeed. And I like the analogy of thinking about like we train our muscles to failure. Like in the gym, failure is a good thing because you've broken apart the muscles so they can grow back stronger. And being in America that's been the difference in the people in the community I'm around.
Yeah, that's so cool. Do you think you can still get that community in Canada?
For sure. I think
Yeah.
you will find whatever you look for. And I started to find those people in Canada before I actually didn't plan on moving to the States. It was during the pandemic that my best friend lived in Boise, and she said, "Hey, why don't you just come stay with me so you're not alone during the pandemic?" Because I was also going through a divorce at that time. So it was like this perfect storm that got me to Canada. That it's kind of funny looking back now that it was like the worst time for myself and many others going through the pandemic, but I was going through a divorce and the pandemic. And at the time it was like my world is crashing down. But now I look back on it like, thank God, because it brought me to America, brought me to the love of my life, brought me to this business that I'm so grateful to have. And so I think about that a lot too, of the times where you were in so much pain and then now you can look back on and be grateful for it, that we have to remember during the pain we are currently in, for whatever the tension is or whatever we're building.
Yeah. Can you share how you met the love of your life? I love love stories so much.
Yes, yeah. So we actually knew each other. We were both married to different people. But he was in the States, I was in Canada, and like we weren't even really friends. We just were acquaintances because he's also entrepreneurial. We would speak at similar events. We were in the same masterminds. But we never talked. Like it was just someone that I knew. And when I was going through my divorce, I announced, publicly, hey, my name is changing and blah, blah, blah. Here's what's going on. And then it was like a few weeks later that we were at this mastermind, and he came up to me saying, hey, I saw your announcement that you're going through a divorce. And he's like, I'm going through one too. And both of us having audiences and being very public, he asked, like, how did you approach this? And we kind of swapped stories, and I hadn't started therapy yet. And he's like, are you going to therapy? And so then he encouraged me to go to therapy. And then we didn't talk for a little bit. Like we kind of kept in touch online, but I was, went back to Canada after this mastermind. And then the pandemic happened. I started dating this guy in Omaha that just a friend introduced us. And during the pandemic, this guy was like, why don't we just be crazy? I see us having a future together. You're someone I feel like I could marry. Why don't you just come to Omaha and let's be together? And we'll be together during the pandemic. And it's so funny looking back on this now. I'm like, if I was my own mother, I would be like, what are you doing? Red flag, red flag, red flag. The ink isn't even dry from my divorce papers yet. Like, wow. And so I'm like, yes, this is my love. This is my love story. And I, pack everything I can into 2 suitcases. I jump the border in the middle of a pandemic. My parents are like, what are you doing? And I go to Omaha, and we have this week of just passion and sexual attraction. And then at the end of the week, I'm like, how come you never introduced me as your girlfriend? I've met your friends, I've met your parents, I've met your employees. He's also an entrepreneur. He's like, I don't want to rush things. I just, don't want to take things too fast. I don't like putting labels on things. I'm like,
You
wait a
moved
minute.
to another country.
I moved to another country. What are you talking about? And so I leave immediately. I'm like, that's not, I had different expectations. So I'm gonna go. My best friend lives in Boise. She's like, come stay here. So I go with my 2 suitcases and my broken heart because I just had huge expectations. I was like, he's everything my ex-husband wasn't. However, now looking back, I'm like, he was emotionally unavailable in different wrapping paper. When like you see those girls that kind
Yeah.
of date the same guy, and I'm like,
Your
oh,
pattern. Yeah.
here's the pattern. I just didn't see it at the time because I was just blinded by love, sexual attraction.
Yeah. Passion.
AKA. Yeah. So I go to Boise and I live with my best friend Nikki, bless her, that she took me in for 6 months with no expiration date. I'm living, in a guest bedroom next to her two teenage boys, and I was just devastated because I had this expectation built up of like, this is my love story, and everything I've lost will now be redeemed because I will be worthy now through this relationship. I obviously didn't understand that at the time. Therapy is what took me to understanding that. But I would just like that relationship failing triggered me so much. And I was spiraling. I was going to therapy 3 times a week. And this is how it leads into how did I get together with Stephen? Because there's a tangent here. We were going to the same therapist in Boise. And
No
so
way.
we would sometimes see he told me about this therapist. We would sometimes see each other. We were kind of keeping in touch because now that I came to Boise, where he just happened to be, like, what a coincidence. We kept in touch. Hey, here's how my divorce is going. How's yours? How's business? How are you, coping with things? And we started to just, be friends. And I was dating, I was on the apps and stuff. And he started to express interest in me. But at this time, I was still attached to my emotionally unavailable guys because that was my pattern. That was all I ever knew. And when he asked me out, I was like, you're not my type. Because my type was narcissist, manipulator, cheater, abuser.
All the good things.
Right. I'm like, you're too nice. This is too easy. What? No. So it's like, not, this isn't passionate for me because it's too nice. And thankfully, after a lot of therapy, including some psychedelic therapy, which I am a huge fan of.
What did you do?
The first one that I did was MDMA therapy. And I had gotten to a place where I was desperate. I was, like I said, I was going to therapy 3 times a week, crying over the same things. And I was getting to a place where I was just like dreading waking up in the morning and, suicidal ideation. What do I have to live for? And I confided in a friend that I really trust. And he said, why don't you come to Austin, which is where this nurse was? And he said, why don't you try this kind of therapy? It's changed my life in one single dose. And, Canadian me, I'm like, drugs are bad. What do you mean? But I was in a position where I was desperate. I was like, what do I have to lose? And also I trust this friend so much that if it's made a difference for him and, he's recommending it, I'll try it. So I get on the plane and I go to Austin and I meet with this nurse that is doing it, and single dose solution. Like, I was able to see in this heightened, beautiful state, which what happens chemically is it dumps your serotonin and it reduces your amygdala. So you just are like in this euphoria, all love, compassion, no fear, no anger. So I'm able to look at my entire life with so much more understanding to be like, oh, this is what the pattern of relationships are. And even though the therapist that I was going to 3 times a week was talking to me about it, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Still being in that emotion, and then was able to pinpoint where it started in my childhood. Because here's what I've come to understand. My parents had me a little bit young and unexpected in their early 20s. And my mom is an amazing mom. Like, she sewed all my Halloween costumes. She made every meal from scratch. But what a child really wants is like, mommy, play with me. I don't care that you did the laundry. I don't care that you and I are starting to get this as new mothers. And little child, my little brain interpreted that of I have to work hard for my mom's attention, which then translated into my relationships, into friends at school, into bosses, into my first marriage. And it's not her fault. It's also not my fault. It was just how I perceived it at like 2 years old, before you're even, old enough to understand or remember your memories. And it was like chain reaction of forgiveness and understanding. And I left that day thinking, I am in love with Stephen. And I, like, on the on the flight
What?
home, I'm like, this man loves me. And he is everything that I said that I wanted. And I'm going to go home and I'm going to say yes to that date, and we'll see where it goes. And now it's been 4.5 years, and we have 3 girls, from his previous marriage that I am so lucky that I get to be stepmom. And I did not know love like this could exist. And it's like, I think about this a lot, that if I could have whispered in that girl's ear in 2019 when she was considering the divorce after so long of like running into this wall of, is this for me? Should I leave? Should I fight for it? Should I stay? If I could have just whispered in her ear, like, you have no idea the love that is on the other side of this. You're safe. Leave. It is so good. I can't even describe it to you.
That's so beautiful. Thank you, MDMA.
Thank you. And thank you, Omaha. Like
Right?
I also that's become a code word for us too, that when something doesn't seem to be working out the way that you wanted it to, maybe it's just Omaha. Maybe it's one of the hardest things that has to happen for you for the best thing to happen. Thanks,
Yeah.
Omaha.
Yeah. How did that experience change your business and how you show up in your life? Because what you described to me during that MDMA, what would therapy,
Yeah.
is to me what I experience when I experience pure alignment
Mm-hmm.
and me being able to show up in my life, in my business. Like, how did that translate into everything that you do?
I think it's also now trusting alignment, because I don't think I think before I've been like, yeah, that's woo woo. Like, yeah, I'm aligned. I'm doing the work, right? I'm hustling hard. I'm putting out my funnels and I'm doing the, checkbox of content all the time. And I'm doing what I have to do to show up. It's like that was all I ever knew. All I ever knew was, emotionally unavailable relationships equal passion. Hard work, struggle equals success. So when you're in this therapy, you have such safety to question your beliefs. And I think that is like just the first key to mind expansion, growth is like, what do I believe? And what did I used to believe? And if what I used to believe I don't believe anymore, what do I currently believe that I should question? Because maybe it'll change how I approach life. So yeah, you asked about like, how did this change my business? For a long time, I would like push, grind, hustle, because that's also what we see on the internet.
Yeah.
There's like glorification. And I'm also not trying to demonize hustle by speaking to that either, because there are seasons where it feels really good to hustle, and I'm in a momentum, I'm in a creative season, and I'm gonna work some longer hours for a time, but then I'm also going to give myself a container where like I'm not going to work as hard because I've created systems, and now I'm going to rest and I'm going to come out even more creative on the other side and might come back into it or not, who knows. But so yeah, I don't want to demonize the hustle either, but I was constantly in this like grind, try to force and make it happen. And it was in a prayer one morning, which is also new to me. I was not, I would consider myself spiritual, but I didn't know God yet. And this also helped bring me to God. I was praying like, God, why is this always like I'm always doing, it's never working. I'm trying so hard. Like, give me a break. Like, can't you help me? What am I supposed to do? And I just heard multiplication by subtraction. And how I perceived that was like, what got you here won't get you there. What got you here, if you keep going at it, will kill you. Instead of trying harder, can you try softer? Can you try less? Can you not do more, but receive more with better? And so I looked at like, what are all the opportunities that I have? What are all the things that I'm doing? Who are the people, on my team, my environment? And something that was just like such a simple and it was alarming to my team was I had a person on my team that was with me for 4 years that I that day decided to let go of. And from the outside in, like I had friends call me like, "Are you burning your business to the ground? Are you okay?" Is this impulsive? And I was like, no, I got it in a prayer and I'm being obedient and I'm moving fast on it. And I don't exactly know what is going to move forward, but I think that we've been stale and that I've been justifying, and I need a new environment and new people to get somewhere else. And right now I need to subtract. And then I was like, okay, God, I did the thing. Now what? And it was like more multiplication by subtraction. There is more to subtract. I was like, oh no, I can't imagine letting go of one more person or one more thing, or what am I supposed to do? And it was like, turn off your Facebook ads. For me, like my monthly recurring revenue was at a place where I knew that if I did nothing, we would be profitable. So why would I spend ads when I could just go into a season of like, let me just heal my nervous system for a little bit. Let me calm and savor this. It was summer. The kids were home. We have a beautiful backyard that I had another therapy session where I was being like silly dramatic. I was like, I never have time to go to the beach. I want to, make this money and go to Italy and go to the beach. And in my backyard, I literally have like a little beach area. And my therapist is laughing at me. She's like, have you just, considered going outside? And I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't just gone outside because I have this attachment to feeling like it has to be hard, that I have to be up in the tower counting my shekels and I'm not worthy of going to the beach until I've XYZ hit this illusion target. So I keep asking myself now, like, how do I do less but better? What can I just remove? Like I heard this story too about like these big freight, ships, when they're trying to get them to go faster, they don't put more engines on it. They actually start like scraping it. They have scuba divers to scrape off the materials that have just accumulated on the side, that, fish and whatever. And that's what I'm trying to like, how do I just do less but better? And that's been a whole new season for me. And if doesn't that just feel so like, can we just
Yeah.
try softer? Let's
Yeah.
try softer.
For me, that aligns so much. The less I do, the lighter I am, and the more clear everything is. And when I think I find stillness and go slow, I go slower, right? It's just going deeper and deeper. But you mentioned seasons and even not demonizing the hustle. And I'm not sure if this will resonate with you. For me, the difference is the intentionality behind the hustle. When I'm in a season of activity, it's very intentional. It isn't coming from a place of, I'm not worthy enough, or I have to do more to prove myself. The action is just coming from such a different place. Do you feel the same thing?
Yes. And I've been also craving depth. And I find that the more sometimes people can stay in the busyness because it feels safer. Like that's just what I know. And if I'm hustling and if I'm multitasking, it allows me to feel important because I'm doing a lot in this, like, but it creates this frantic energy. And so I just am like, I have to call myself out of it or create structures. We talked about environments grow you more than willpower. I need to create structures so that I stay in deep work, not cheap work. And what that looks like for me is I don't get up and jump into my day, which sometimes is hard to do. And sometimes I still battle with myself feeling like, well, I have a lot to do. Like I don't have time to pray or journal this morning or write. Like I have to just jump into this but it's almost like I don't have time not to, because if I don't show up with the right alignment, something that maybe could take, have you ever found that like when you are in that alignment, something that you would think would take you 6 hours takes you one?
Oh, yes, all the time.
Yeah. So I think it's being like so diligent, like religiously structured. And structure sometimes to people can sound like, I was going to say discipline, but also discipline can also be, I like to, that can be delicious to have like a discipline, but it doesn't have to be punishment. It doesn't
Yeah,
have
of
to be a chore.
course. Yeah.
But to get up and wake up like this morning I woke up and I found this new Bible app that I really love. And I'm like, I'll go through the verse of the day and maybe I'll spend like 15 minutes. I spent an hour and 15 minutes. And I was like, wow, that went by so fast and I feel amazing. Okay, what do I have to do today? Huh. Everything that I was frantic about before doesn't exist. I'll still do the things and I'll still get organized, but this morning I would have jumped into, oh, I gotta do this. I gotta do this. Like frantic just feels gross to me.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel good in the body and isn't sustainable.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to mention, because you also experience illness in your life.
Yes.
Can you share that story? Because that also acts as a catalyst for
Mm-hmm.
change.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm like really starting to integrate the change now, even though this was a few years ago. So December 2021. Wow. Coming up on a couple years exactly. December 2021, I got a call like 3 days before Christmas that a PAP that then they wanted me to come back and get another pap, which then turned into, hey, we're just going to do a quick little biopsy here. Oh, someone came back. We're going to do a what's called a LEAP procedure to remove just some dysplasia, some abnormal cells, and then it should all be fine. It was like one thing after another. I thought I was done. I thought I was done with those series of appointments, and then it was a few days before Christmas. They called saying, hey, we took the pathology of this tissue that we removed, and we were not expecting this, especially because you're young. But what came back was cervical adenocarcinoma, which is cancer in the glands around my cervix. And they were like, let's book you to come back in after the holiday, a couple days after Christmas. We'll talk to you about your options. At this point, the treatment plan would be a hysterectomy.
How
But
did you feel receiving that call?
I was like, I completely checked out. I put it on speakerphone, and luckily Stephen was right next to me because I just immediately numbed out. And here, I just remember hearing hysterectomy and being like, I'm only 31. I was 31 at the time. Like, what? And Stephen and I were still like, are we going to have kids? He already has 3 girls, which is amazing. Freedom is having a choice. And as soon as you take my choice away from me, I'm like, oh, hell no. And just very anxious, and I definitely went into victim mode. Like, this is happening to me, and how could this happen to me? I'm 31, I'm healthy. I thought I don't think I did anything wrong. What did I do wrong? God, what's happening? And so and then, went to several doctor appointments after that, like the one after Christmas. I was totally in a fog all Christmas, like just getting this news. And I remember when I first get there, the nurse does the triage, they take your blood pressure and blah, blah, blah. And this nurse was like, oh man, you must have had just like such a hard Christmas. I'm so sorry. Oh, that must have been so hard. And I just felt like inundated by this pity. Like, oh, so I was like, whoa, no, stop. Christmas was great. Go away. It just, that was a big lesson to me that if something is ever happening that people, well-meaning, of course, well-meaning, want to comfort you, but it's perceived as pity, I just immediately turn it to be an empowerment. I'm so great. How are you? Yeah, you know what? We're going to get through it. We're going to talk it out. I'm glad to be here today. I just do not want to receive that. But I did go into some victim mode for a little bit. I was spiraling in what do I do? And at the time, it was just like hysterectomy is the treatment plan. And I had it on the calendar, like it was going to happen a few weeks later. But I just felt there was just this voice inside that was like, is that the right thing to do? Like, get another opinion or look into some other options. Like, as entrepreneurs, we typically do things differently than everyone else does already. So I was like, am I just going to do what they tell me to do? I remember going into Steven's office one day and I was just like, am I fighting the wrong fight by just having the hysterectomy? And we thought about it for a long time because it was like, either way, whatever we choose, we're going to be all in on. If I chose to have the hysterectomy, that is the path that we were going to commit to. But if I don't, I want to be committed to that too. And so I posted about it on social media. And it was interesting the timing that I posted about it because I was definitely still spiraling. I was still emotional. And I know there's this quote from Brene Brown where she says, vulnerability, share the scars, not the open wounds. My wounds were open. And I also think that that's real. Like, I don't think that we need to wait until the happily ever after, that we can put an Instagram filter on it to say, hey, here's what I went through and now I'm stronger. Like, I think that it's more valuable and more relatable to share it while you are in the wound. So I just vulnerably said, like, I got this diagnosis. I'm terrified. I don't know which way is up. I need help. If anyone has any resources, suggestions, prayers, not pity though, I will accept it all. And oh my gosh, the outpouring of love and support. And, being a content marketing expert, I talk a lot about, like, you never know who's out there that needs to hear your message. Like, there is a moral obligation we have to share our message. But then I was so surprised by the other way around of, you never know who's out there that's going to be a message for you, what you need. Because I had people, strangers that were like, here's this book, here's this person. Hey, I'm happy to have a call with you. There's two people that really stood out for me. One, his name is Chris Wark, and he has a book called Chris Beat Cancer. He similar to me, surprise diagnosis. He had a stage 3 colon cancer and was told, like, you got to go through chemo, radiation, all these things. He did have a surgery to remove like a, big size tumor. And in the hospital, when he's, recovering from the surgery, they gave him for a meal a sloppy Joe. And he's like, that's when I realized something's not right here. And he's like, I just, download from God, was like, you're not going to have the chemo and radiation, and you are going to heal this. And then you're going to teach people how you did it. And he is like an incredible natural cancer healing expert. I mean, it's like over 20 years later, he's still here, has a beautiful wife and 2 girls. And one of the big things that he said to me that I happily share with other people, because I'll have people that find my YouTube videos on it and they're like, can we talk? Yes. Like, I want to be there for people the way that other people were for me, to at least share my resources or listen, because I was about to make a decision out of fear. And what Chris Wark said to me was, you have time. I don't care what kind of cancer it is, where it's located in your body, you have time. And I kept trying to argue it. No, but they told me that that only 1 in 100,000 women have it. And they told me that that if I don't do something, that the prognosis is going to get worse. And because mine is here, and he's like, the healing mechanism is the same. Overdose on nutrition, detox, turn your body created an environment for cancer. We get to create an environment for healing. And I had to sit with that for a little bit, because I think, based on some of these patterns in my life before, that success requires struggle, there was part of me that felt safer to sit in the struggle. And then there were more people that reached out. I have this amazing functional medicine doctor. Her name's Dr. Kelly. If anyone ever wants her information, I'll happily give you. I just work with her virtually. So she's in a different city, but she'll send me for labs locally. And what I do with her is I do testing every 90 days. So I know exactly where my numbers are. Because with the conventional doctor, I've had multiple tests since the diagnosis that come back no evidence. Oh my gosh, I'm healed on their tests. But the functional medicine still show the cancer markers in my blood and toxicities in my brain and stuff, just from drinking tap water and, stuff in our cleaning supplies and just in our environment that we need to get rid of. And if you don't have a full body picture of what's happening, and you just take out body parts, have the surgery, pour poison on it, it's like painting over a water leak and not actually finding the source, which then, what if I did have the hysterectomy? I would have gone all in and committed on that decision. But if I didn't find the source, would it just then come up in my breasts later or something else? And now I don't go to the conventional doctor anymore, because it's actually just so much more traumatic for me every time they do a PAP and they want to go deeper, and colposcopy. And it's like, I also think that there's so many different testing and detection mechanisms. Like, everyone, I'm obviously not a doctor, disclaimer, do your own research, but like, I will never do a mammogram. I will always do thermography and ultrasounds instead. Thermography can detect breast cancer years earlier. And
Wow.
And also mammograms can also disrupt if there's something going on there. It's like, if there's a hornet's nest, am I going to kick at it and poke at it to like disturb the cells and have, I don't know the technical terms, but like, if I have a scab, I'm not just going to keep picking at it so it can never heal. And so every time I go back for a PAP or colposcopy or all these other things, or ECC, it's so painful. And I'd be like on the table just in trauma. Or I can have these blood tests and hair tests and urine tests that actually show me my whole body. And I can get those tests done every 60 to 90 days. So the same way that, like, if we can relate it to similarly, like losing weight, you can step on a scale and be like, oh, have my actions from the last week allowed me to gain or lose? Okay, I've built up maybe some toxicities here. Oh, it's because the kale I was eating actually has thallium in it. Okay, well, now we need to remove that. Here's the supplements to do that. And I can kind of go back and forth. And have the data the same way that, as entrepreneurs, we need data to make decisions. Why would it be any different for our health?
Yeah, I see so many parallels when you were explaining that. I mean, you have time. We always try to rush things. We have time to make decisions. And even the way you described creating an environment for healing is the same thing in our lives, right? Just being very aware and intentional about the environment that we're living in. And then when you have this environment all set, you're able to replicate that and support others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
so interesting to me that you turn to social media because that's now what you do. And you talking about how you have a message to share. So let's kind of change direction a little bit and lean into that. Knowing that everybody has a message to share, how do you support entrepreneurs to share their message and to become known in their industry when the world is so noisy? How do we stand out?
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind when you're saying like you have a message, your mess becomes your message. Your before picture is someone else's hopeful after picture. Like they want to go through the same journey that you have to get to where you are today. So, a lot of the questions that you just asked me to pull out these stories are my message. And so I kind of do the same thing with my clients is what's your message? What are you creating? How are you monetizing that? And sometimes people come to me at different stages where they already are monetizing. Now, how do we just amplify that? Sometimes people that are like, I know I have a message. How do I monetize this? But it all just comes down to who you are, why you do what you do. And often, again, you're speaking to like your before picture. So when people come to me on the phone that they're like, I want to build a business, or I want to have a happy, healthy relationship as an entrepreneur, or I'm going through a health struggle while also wanting to have a meaningful purpose in the world. I'm like, check, check, check. I've experienced all those things. Those are such really important parts of my life that I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to share with you what I've done, even if I'm only one chapter ahead, or we get to collaborate together. And that's another the imposter syndrome that comes up for people. Well, what if I'm not, I don't have like a book out yet, or why should I write a book? Because Oprah has one. It's like you don't have to try to be like anyone else. You don't have to be this guru on the mountain expert. You just have to have information or a message or inspiration that someone who might even just be right beside you or a step behind you needs.
You were on YouTube. When did you start going on YouTube?
I was still a dental hygienist in 2016 and I
Yeah.
started dabbling then.
Wow. So then you created this multi-million dollar business from YouTube, essentially. How did you do that? And because now you're helping other entrepreneurs to create content and to share their message. So can you share a little bit more about that journey?
Yeah, and I started my YouTube channel, like I said, I was a dental hygienist and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do yet. I just started creating videos answering frequently asked questions because I was like good at social media and it would be like, how do you put this picture on this image? And I would, make a little Canva tutorial, which now my Canva tutorial has like 1 million views. It's just been sitting there racking up views for all these years.
Views and money.
Yeah, that's the
That
thing. It's
sounds
like
good.
you
Yeah.
can't deposit likes and subscribers in your bank account. That's where you need to have the systems to then, bring them into an email list, bring them into an offer. But at the time, I didn't know what my offer was. So I was like, well, people ask me for help with social media. Maybe I make a little social media course. And then that grew into doing social media, YouTube as a service for people. Then that grew into an agency. That grew into my coaching programs and my consulting programs. And then now, like people that have, whether they're starting from scratch or they have a fully fledged 6-7 figure business, I can help them to monetize even more by being able to spread their message. And I think that content is just one of like the most basic. I feel like if all anyone did was create a piece of content every day, your life and your business would be unrecognizable months from now because it's just at the very basic form, business is about caring about someone enough to know what their problem is and enough to be able to have a solution for them. And if you care about your impact, you will do anything it takes to reach them. If you have the life preserver and there are people swimming in an ocean asking for it, you don't have to, it's funny.
Yeah.
You don't have to, oh, it's not the right color. Maybe it's not big enough. Like you have the answer to people. And that's just what I always go back to, even when, I get the mindset gremlins that come up today of like, I don't know, what should I post today? Or is this important enough? Or is this valuable? And it's often those times where like the best message comes out. Even if it's like, I didn't know what to post today, but I wanted to be consistent. So I'm making this post today. Yay, me. Now your turn. Like you could make that post and it would probably be really funny and people would probably laugh at it. But it's just like the consistency. And I love Jerry Seinfeld talks about like his process for writing comedy. And he's like, I'd never break the chain. I do not allow myself to miss a day. And when we talk about creativity, like there's people that have different creative inspirations. There's some people like Elizabeth Gilbert, I think that she says, I wait for creativity to hit me and then I run for my pen. And then there's some people that are like, my creative inspiration comes because I sit down at my desk from 9 till 12 and I write. And that's because, and it comes. And so it's like, we need to create the space for that and the structure for that to make it happen. Personally, I am the kind of person that I need the spaciousness. I don't wait for it to come to me. I invite it to come by having the space and knowing I'm not going to break the chain. I need to do something every single day to create a piece of content, to connect with someone and offer them what I know that is going to change their lives.
Yeah, I almost feel like they're one and the same though, because when you create the space, you allow for the download.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
And I think people feel nervous to create that space because they're afraid of boredom or they don't feel productive. And if we just, going back to what we just talked about, success requires struggle and it has to be hard. So if I just sit here in silence, that's not productive. And although it does feel hard to sit in silence, but you're so right. Like if I have to sit and just look at my computer screen, and even if I just start typing, I don't know what I'm going to talk about today, but look, a kitty, and there's a thing, and then something will come from even just not knowing, but the space, the void, nature abhors a void. When you create the space, it has to be filled.
Yeah, that's my experience too. What would you say though? I mean, even me, I'm in this season right now with my infant that I am now, I don't want to use the word struggling because I'm not. I'm adapting to creating that space. What does space look like for me right now so that I can be consistent because there is inconsistency and me learning and adapting? So, what do you do and what would you recommend to people who tell you, I don't have the time, or how do I find that consistency?
You will make time. We don't find time, we make time. You carve it out for whatever is important to you. You have to make time to eat every day or you will die. You have to make time to sleep every day or you will fall over. Like you have to. And whether you do it when you're like forced into submission or you plan for it so that it's actually with ease, I think that it's a choice. And there might be some things, the multiplication by subtraction that you're doing that is actually the addiction to chaos, busy work that isn't moving the needle. So how do we allow space for that? Even if it is, okay, this is important to me, so I'm going to wake up 30 minutes earlier, or I'm going to carve out I'm going to stop taking this meeting and put this here. Like I have time in my calendar that I have blocked off. Like if you look at my calendar, Monday and Wednesday is my call days. And then Tuesday, Thursday, Friday is content and relationships. That's all it says. So it's like I'm creating content and I'm on podcasts, or I might go to events or networking, things like that, because that is the most important thing, especially for an entrepreneur that is the face of the business. Your highest revenue generating activities are when you are face to face with people or when you are speaking. You might still be great at building systems. You might know how to do your accounting and your admin stuff, and that's great. But that can also be outsourced so that you can do things that can't be outsourced.
Yeah, yeah. What then, because you talk about showing up, showing your face, and then we talk about social media. So I want to bring this together because so many people show up, they have tons of views, but they can't monetize. What's the difference and how do you help people monetize when showing up?
Yeah. And there's different revenue streams. Like there's different ways that people can monetize. Is it through selling merchandise? Is it just through, AdSense where YouTube pays you a few pennies for, thousands of views? Is it having affiliate offers where you're just recommending someone else's, or having your own offer, which is my favorite because you have so much more control over your offer. But also an amalgamation of multiple. Like I have my own offers, and I'm also an affiliate where if I recommend, this software, I get a recurring commission for as long as that person is using that software. What a win. I don't have to fulfill on it, and it might go really well hand in hand with what I sell. Like perfect. So we want to create different offers that are also, again, all in alignment with you. People can get overwhelmed with the thought of like, what is the offer to create? And there's so many strategies for, is it a course? Is it a coaching program? Is it a product? Is it an event? Is it a workshop? Is it live? Is it virtual? Is it in person? Is it, follow replays? There's so many different uh, combinations, and you can also do some of all the above. Whenever my clients make, I always encourage them to do something that is going to create recurring revenue or high ticket revenue. Like I think that all roads, especially when you're first starting, should lead to recurring or high ticket, because if you have high ticket, you have more profit margin for you to be able to reinvest in your business. And also if you have recurring, you can, on the first of the month, no, I have this much money coming in today, instead of I got to hustle and try to like launch this thing all over again and start from scratch and scarcity. When I mentioned that I let go of like people on my team earlier this year, I knew my monthly recurring revenue and what my expenses were. So that I was like, if I do nothing, I'm profitable. And I would love for people to build up that recurring revenue. And my saying is DRR, which means daily revenue routine, equals MRR, monthly recurring revenue. If you have a simple daily revenue routine, which to me is posting every day, doing 5 outreach like connections with people, whether it's DMs, commenting in the comments, having a quick call, like doing some outreach, and then 5 follow-ups. Who are the people that we have this like money on the table leads process where it's like you're building your list of the people that could be your clients, your collaborations, joint ventures, affiliate offers, and then you're making content to build your brand, and then you're doing outreach to build your relationships. Doing that very simple daily revenue routine, if you do it consistently, will increase your monthly recurring revenue.
I love that. Do you think you have to go viral in your content to make a lot of money?
Heck no.
Yeah.
Heck no. No, I have clients that have small audiences, and whether it's on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or whatever platform they're on, it's about the relationship. I have a client that he had 170 subscribers on YouTube, and the next month he made $82,000
Wow. From his offer.
from his offer.
And because his content connected.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, how many subscribers do you need or audience members do you need to make a sale? Well, it could just take one, the right one.
Yeah. Can you break that down? Because one thing that you're also very good at is hooks and creating content that does connect. So how would you break that down for someone? How can they create content that does connect and that does lead to revenue?
Yeah. So when we talk about creating content, we need to speak in a way that not everyone is doing. Like, if you're scrolling through social media, or let's say if you see a headline on a newspaper or an email subject line that you can assume what they're going to talk about. If you already know the answer, you're like, oh, I don't need to click on this because I already know. Like I can save myself the 60 seconds to watch this piece of content because I already know. If an audience can correctly assume what the video is about or the content is about, then it's just noise. We want to create that tell me more effect. We want to give people curiosity, like unsatiable curiosity, that they're like, I have to click this video. Like if you anyone listening, like open up YouTube right now, probably 1 or 5 or 10 thumbnails that you see on YouTube will pique your interest, because that's what the algorithms are designed to do, is to make you salivate over clicking on a thumbnail so you can find out what they are saying on the other side of it. And social media is designed to be addictive. And it is, I like thinking about how, the saying of you are what you eat, you are what you consume in terms of content too. So we need to make our content a worthy information diet for our audience. And we need to speak in ways that is non-obvious, that is unpredictable, that might be a little bit polarizing and disruptive. Disclaimer, I'm not saying that you have to be a jerk. Disruptive doesn't mean being arrogant. It can. Some people, that is their angle, that they're just like this appropriate form, or maybe not inappropriate form of arrogance, that they're like, I know that I'm the best and this is why you should listen to me. And that works for them. They're like, you can probably think of some people that you're like, oh yeah, that's their angle on content.
Yeah.
There's also people that can be just salt of the earth, sweetheart, amazing, disruptive because of the way that they say things differently than anyone else. And like, look at, I'm spending time on this because this is like something that I have to battle with people. They're like, I don't want to be disruptive. I'm like, do you know who else in history was disruptive? Jesus, Mother Teresa, Gandhi. Like, they stood for something that was polarizing to what not everyone else believed in. And if you try to be for everyone, you will be for no one. There's also this meme that I see sometimes. It's like, you can't make everyone like you. You're not tacos. But like, that's the thing, is if you try to be liked by everyone, that is not the pathway to success. So we need to speak for something that there is existing noise on both sides. I mean, what I just talked about with my health, there might be some people listening that are like, I could never imagine not just having the hysterectomy and not doing, like, I have to do what the doctor said. If Marley did something separate, oh my gosh, like, that's woo woo. And she didn't listen to her doctor. And I have people in my comments section that are like, you're lying for 15 minutes of fame and this is misinformation and how dare you. And I'm like, I'm alive. Okay. So like, I'm not going to apologize for that. We need to find some kind of a statement that we can make with our brand that you just unapologetically believe in. Not that you have to be rude about it, but if someone were to ask me like, hey, Marley, how do you feel about this kind of health or this kind of parenting or this kind of business, modalities, I would be like, here's what I believe, and this is what I stand for, and this is how I will speak to it. I was talking to a woman the other day that she was trying to figure out what's my disruptive message. And I was like, give me 5 minutes, I'll pull it out of you. And so I'm talking to her, and she does like fitness, health, specifically helping women through balancing their hormones. And I was able to, in a few minutes, pull out of her. She got so heated about birth control and like, our daughters should never be on birth control, and birth control is awful. And if the people that have been on birth control for years often have to recover from that. I can say that for myself. I was on 16 years of birth control, and I think that's what gave me cervical cancer, which I could get heated about cancer. Like, there I was able to pull out of her. This is something that she would take a stand for, is balancing your hormones naturally, not going on birth control or the very simple quick fixes that society can put you on. So that's something that she can get really passionate about, and can also be polarizing because there can be different opinions on it. So we want to aim for strong reactions, both positive and negative. There's no marketing in the middle, and we don't want to make a business decision to water down your message for people who just will never be your audience, because people don't take action until they feel something, and we have to hook attention in the right way. And we have such great, tools with AI, ChatGPT, that we can ideate with ChatGPT too. Like, if you wanted to make some content around parenting and structuring your time as a parent, ask ChatGPT, how can I say this in a way that's a little bit polarizing to really grab attention and have that be a strong hook? Endless ideas right there. It's just, you have to say things that are non-obvious and unpredictable. That's like the basis that I can say in, a few minutes.
I have a question about this disruptive messaging too, because I'm sure we could all get really passionate about random topics. How close to our industry does it have to be? You know what I mean? Like, can we veer off? Does it have to be industry specific, especially because we're trying to stand out in our industry? How far is too far off the topic?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I'm so glad you asked that, because people buy from people they know. And so, yes, we want people to know who we are for our expertise, for our authority in our industry, our niche, but we also want to see the real side of that person. Like, I have made it a point that I'm not going to buy a program or invest in something from someone that I don't align with their lifestyle. Like, if someone's trying to teach me how to run my business, but maybe they're not married and don't have kids, and like, I want to learn from someone that can understand me because that's my life, so I want to see that side of them. And the personal side is what can create the push-pull language, that you are bringing in people that you want to work with, and you're also repelling people that you don't. The only time that I would say, like, I was about to say, like, what would I say not to speak about personally? I mean, if that's genuinely you, why? I don't see there being any guardrails around, oh, well, don't talk about religion because that can no, like, if you
are a strong Christian, there are people that will be like, oh, that's my person. Like that's someone that also has a faith-filled lifestyle, and I'm going to work with them because they align with that. If you don't want to work with people that are the opposite, then that's okay. It's not that we're trying to be aggressive and repelling people like negatively, or I hate you or anything, but it's like you want to bring in those people. And that is what's going to give you a bigger brand, because the people will rally around you as a leader by sharing that. Since I just mentioned faith, like I announced recently, like how I came into my faith, and I'm a baby Christian. Like I found God more recently, and I was surprised how many people I had in my DMs saying like, "You're so brave to share that," like as if it didn't cross my mind that people might not follow me because of my newfound faith. And I didn't get any negative. Maybe I got a couple of like, hey, don't follow that pastor. That pastor is whatever. And I was, okay, thank you. Didn't ask. But it created more people that became a magnet to my brand. And even, and right before I announced my divorce, right after I announced my divorce, I spoke on stage at an event called Funnel Hacking Live in front of 5,000 people. Shared the stage with Tony Robbins, Tom Bilyeu, some like big names. It was this pinnacle moment in my career. But in my personal life, I was kind of falling apart. And I shared from stage because I actually documented the whole thing, and I like shared publicly, okay, I'm about to speak on this stage and this is this incredible moment, but I'm kind of scared for what people are going to think about me. And I'm just going to document the whole journey, because I'm sure this is something that I'm going to want to look back on. And maybe there's someone out there that also could, be inspired by maybe something I can share. And I also know that in sharing, maybe there's some comfort I can receive by sharing that. It's so amazing to me that you never know who's watching that could be inspired by something you have to say, but also you never know who's watching that can give you an answer you need, which I can come back to that. But like when I was going through my cancer journey, I found people online, because I shared it, gave me other resources that helped me to heal naturally instead of having surgeries and chemo and all this stuff, which was like miraculous to me at the time. But I wanted to share that when I was on stage at this event, speaking in front of 5,000 people, I had this moment where I felt like there was this tension in the room, the elephant in the room of like, what's really going on with Marley? She just went through divorce and now she's here. So I kind of like broke the ice by just saying like, hey, 3 weeks ago, I announced publicly that my marriage ended. And to be honest, I considered not showing up today on this stage. I considered backing out, but I realized that if I did that, it wouldn't just impact me. It would impact all of those who need to hear a message I need to hear. And I didn't want to be Marley, the divorce girl. I hope that this could be a story of perseverance, and helping people doesn't stop just because your life isn't perfect. No one's is. That part of my story is what makes me Marley Jaxx. To which it got like great applause. And even after, for months later, people were saying like, I have a story of perseverance. I have a story of, they're not necessarily going through divorces like I was at the time, but sharing that personal side of my story, people could connect to me through something that they felt vulnerable about, and had this encouragement to keep going. So to summarize that was just answering like, how much of the personal stuff should you share? Honestly, all of it.
What I'm hearing from you too is just the power of story. Like the
yes.
disruptive plus the story. And that's actually what I found even recently within creating content. I'm always trying to pull it to a story, and those are always the videos that get the most amount of views.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've seen your videos just been falling, even you sharing like, here's my hairstyles, like I'm a busy mom, and here's what I have to, and here's what I do with my photo shoot. Like, I love watching that. On top of the stuff about your business, like I want to know you as the person so I can cheer you on in your personal life, and then be able to feel like I was there during your professional wins too.
Yeah. And I think this idea of disruptive content, maybe even within me, scares me, especially coming out of COVID. Like it was so polarizing. Are you getting vaccinated? Are you not getting vaccinated? Like there's so many things that people were so strong about that I never talked about because I was scared.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, well, that's just not my battle. Because I'm sure all of us have an opinion over whatever political stuff is going on or health stuff. But even though you have an opinion, like it's okay if you just have no comment on it, because it's like, that's not my platform. That's not what I'm going to create my brand around. and you pick the battles that you do, like, you know, the example of this woman that she's like balancing hormones and she's like, oh no, birth control is terrible. Like that's something that she's going to fight for, but she doesn't need to give an opinion on every single thing.
No, I think that that is so powerful for your message, but also everything that you stand for, how to become an icon, how to stand out, how to create more revenue and go viral, right? I think all of it comes back to that. And you also mentioned in the beginning of when we were speaking, this authenticity and sharing your story and really knowing what you stand for. So I think it all connects really beautifully. This is why I love what you do. And I, number one, like I had mentioned, I love the way you think, but I also love the way you support entrepreneurs to make their business easier and more profitable, right? And just feel so authentic to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want it to feel like play, because people keep doing what feels fun. But if you just get into a routine of like, okay, I have to do it, you don't want to do it. I want to make it feel like, oh, this is something I never want to stop.
What do you wish that all entrepreneurs knew? You work with so many entrepreneurs, and what do you just want to scream from the rooftops and make sure that they know and understand?
I mean, kind of repeating a little bit of what we said before, that success does not require struggle, but a lot of people fight to keep that alive for themselves, which also brings me to question, like, well, why are you fighting for anything? Like, why do we have to fight for struggle, or can we just choose? And I think like, and I hope that even people hearing this, like, write down, the more I play, the more I get paid. How can I make that a reality? Like, how can I make it so that when I play, I receive, that when I play, I create instead of I grind? Because that sounds just repulsive to me after years of doing it. Again, there are seasons of hustle, and the hustle can still feel like play, but if it feels draining, for that reason, I'm out.
Yeah, it's true. My word for the year is, well, I have two, but one of them is creation, because when I'm in that creative space, I just feel so connected to me, and the things that I create are so beautiful. How are you going to play and create today?
Oh, exactly what you said, that when you're connected to it, this flow state, it's like you just infused magic into it. And then there's the conviction that it's going to be amazing. So I love doing this podcast today. I'm filming for my podcast later today with Steve, and I have a podcast together. Yeah. It's called the Rare Things Podcast, for anyone who wants to go check it out. And every time it's just, especially us spending time together and doing a podcast and like mental volleying off of each other, it's the best.
That's so awesome. I love that you feel like that is play. And I always ask my clients too, what feels like joy? Infuse more joy into your life, into your business. Is it fun? They always want to know the strategies. What do I do and how do I do this? But that's why I love your content game, because it makes things fun. And when people are having fun, they can feel where the energy is pulling them. And I believe they make better decisions when they are in fun and joy and love and, all those good things. But then it's also just alignment. When we're in joy, we're in alignment and we know what's right for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We don't always need MDMA. We just need a little bit more play and fun.
That's it.
Right. And to sum up this conversation, thank you for sharing your story and everything that you've been through and how you've moved through that, but also how you support entrepreneurs, because I know everybody is just so lucky to work with you. So thank you for sharing your light and your knowledge with the world.
That's all for today. Until next time, trust yourself, shine your light, and stay true to your heart and mind. Love you.